Abandoned, rusty spaceship bought by human boy months later. They all regret laughing. The outer rim of the galaxy was a place most beings avoided. The planets were old, the spaceports dusty, and trade was slow. But to those with curious eyes, like 14-year-old Eli, it was full of treasures waiting to be found. He had traveled with his small hover scooter from one end of the port to the other, scanning broken ships, derelict cargo pods, and old engines thrown like garbage. Every day he searched for something unique, something that could change his life. Eli's eyes sparkled as he stopped in front of a huge pile of rusted metal. Most of the ships there had peeling paint, shattered windows, and engines that hadn't run in decades. The aliens who ran this scrapyard laughed at everything. A tall, green-skinned trader with 4 arms leaned over the pile and shook his head. "You won't get anything from that junk, human boy," he said. His voice was high-pitched, like metal scraping metal. "That ship is older than the last star in this system. You'll just waste your money." Eli didn't care. He had learned not to listen to laughter. Humans had a strange talent for finding value where others saw only rust. He crouched, brushing his hand over the ship's hull. Despite years of neglect, the metal felt strong. The edges were rough, but he could see the frame was solid. His heart raced. "Really?" he asked, pretending to be unsure. "It doesn't look too bad to me." The trader laughed, loud and ugly.
"You're crazy. That heap hasn't moved in 50 years.
"Do you even know what you're touching?" Eli grinned. "Maybe I don't, but I know it can fly again." The alien snorted. Other customers had stopped to watch. The human boy, so small and young, was daring to buy a ship that no one had wanted for decades. They whispered among themselves, imagining how foolish he was. The price was low. The ship had been forgotten, and the traders just wanted it gone. Eli handed over his savings, coins he had earned fixing old hovercrafts and helping out at the port, and signed the papers. The aliens barked with laughter, patting each other on the back. "You've bought a grave," the green trader sneered. "Have fun dying in it." Eli didn't answer. He only looked at the ship. Its name, painted in fading letters on the side, was Aurora's Shadow. He liked the sound of it. To him, it was more than rust and broken circuits. It was a promise of adventure. Moving the ship out of the scrapyard wasn't easy. Its engines groaned like an old animal, and the wheels squeaked over the uneven metal floors. But Eli pushed, pulled, and even rigged a small thruster from his hover scooter to give it extra lift. Passers-by stopped to stare. A few aliens tried to call him back, telling him it was impossible. But humans often surprised everyone when no one expected it. Eli was determined. When he finally parked it near his small workshop on the edge of the port, he stood back and looked at his new prize. Dust floated in the sunlight, glinting off the old metal. The ship was tall and broad, with strange curves and old markings that hinted at stories from a time long before Ellie was born. He could feel the weight of history in every dent and scratch. That night, Eli didn't sleep much. He ate a quick meal and returned to the ship. He climbed inside, ignoring the groans of old metal. The interior smelled of oil, rust, and something faintly sweet that he couldn't recognize. Panels hung loosely from the ceiling. Wires dangled like vines, and small lights flickered weakly. "This is it," he whispered. "This is our start." He worked with careful hands, cleaning dust, tightening screws, and testing circuits. Some buttons lit up, some didn't. Some made sparks, and others made soft hums that sounded almost alive. He found a small console in front of the captain's chair covered in grime. When he wiped it clean, tiny letters appeared. AI Core, dormant. Eli's heart skipped a beat. He had heard stories of old AI systems, ancient, intelligent, sometimes dangerous. This could be something incredible, or it could be useless. Either way, he couldn't wait to find out. For days, he tinkered. He connected power cables, adjusted energy converters, and even rigged a small emergency thruster. Every step was a challenge, and every failure made him more determined. The aliens who had laughed at him were no longer in the port to see it, but if they were watching, they would have been shocked. Humans had a stubborn streak. They could turn almost anything into a tool, almost anything into a weapon, almost anything into hope. Then, one evening, something strange happened. A faint light pulsed from the AI console. Eli froze. The light was weak but steady, like a heartbeat. A soft voice whispered through the speakers, "Hello? Is someone there?" Eli jumped back. He hadn't expected this. The voice was calm, almost curious, not threatening. I'm Eli," he said, unsure if the ship could hear him. "I bought you, I think." There was silence for a moment. Then the voice responded, "Eli, a human. It has been a long time."
Eli's eyes widened. The ship was alive.
It was thinking. It was talking. "Yes," he whispered. "I'm a human. And I think we can fix this place together." The AI hummed. "I have waited. Perhaps you are the one." Eli smiled. He had dreamed of adventure, of discovering something no one else understood. But he hadn't imagined it would start like this. A talking spaceship abandoned for decades was now his partner. Days turned into weeks. Eli worked tirelessly. He learned the ship's systems, figuring out engines, shields, and strange alien controls. He studied old star maps stored in the ship's memory. The AI, who he decided to call Shadow, was helpful but also mischievous. Sometimes it played small tricks, lights flickering, doors opening unexpectedly. But it also taught him things no book ever could. At the port, rumors began to spread. A human boy had bought a forgotten ship and made it work again. Traders whispered to each other, "He won't last a week." "It's impossible. Humans are fragile. They can't handle that kind of power." But humans had a strange gift. They could turn the impossible into reality. Eli fixed what others had given up on. He soldered circuits, rerouted power, and even used parts from old hovercrafts. Slowly, the Aurora's shadow began to shine, not new, but alive again. Lights glimmered along its hull, engines purred, and small thrusters fired with perfect timing. One night, while Eli was running diagnostics, a soft alarm sounded. Red lights flashed. He frowned. "Shadow, what is it?"
A signal?
"From deep space," the AI replied. "Unknown, possibly ancient, possibly dangerous. But interesting." Eli's heart raced. This was what he had hoped for. Adventure, mystery, discovery, and perhaps danger. He looked at the stars through the cracked viewport. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of known space, something was waiting. And he, a human boy with a rusty spaceship, was ready to find it. The next morning, as he stepped outside the ship, a group of alien traders appeared. Their mouths hung open when they saw the ship. It was no longer a rusty heap. Small lights glowed along its surface. Engines hummed softly, ready to move. Eli climbed into the cockpit, smiling. You fixed it?" one of them stammered. "I did," Eli said simply. The aliens stared, unsure if they should laugh or run. Eli ignored them. He was ready for something bigger. Somewhere, out in the vast emptiness, a new adventure awaited. And for the first time in his life, he realized something very human. When others laughed at you, it often meant you were on the right path. Ellie had never felt so alive. Each morning he climbed into the cockpit of the Aurora's Shadow, running checks, fixing circuits, and learning the ship's strange systems. Shadow, the AI, had awakened fully now, its voice calm but full of personality. It reminded Eli of an old teacher, sometimes patient, sometimes teasing, but always clever. "You humans are persistent," Shadow said one morning, its lights flickering in amusement. "Most would have given up after a week of repairs." "You have a rare gift," Eli grinned. "I guess I'm just stubborn, and I like fixing things no one else can." Shadow hummed in approval. "Then perhaps you are the one the ship has waited for." "I am old, Eli. Older than your records. I have seen stars born and die. I have served fleets that no longer exist, and now you..." Eli's eyes widened. You mean fleets of humans? Yes. Humans who flew farther than anyone thought possible. Humans who fought impossible odds. And you, a boy, have awakened me. That is rare. Eli's chest swelled with pride. Humans were small, fragile, and often underestimated by other species, but they had grit, courage, and curiosity. Shadow's words made him feel powerful in a way he never had before. Days turned into weeks as Eli explored the ship. He discovered hidden compartments filled with tools, star maps, and ancient logs of distant human voyages. Some were records of trade, others of battles long forgotten. Each page told a story of humans venturing into the unknown, facing aliens far stronger and smarter, and somehow surviving. Eli spent hours reading them, fascinated. Humans used to be everywhere, he whispered to Shadow. Why did we disappear from so many systems? Time, Shadow replied softly, and fear. Some humans chose safety over adventure. Others were lost, but those who remained, like you, carry the old spirit. You remind me why the galaxy feared humans once. Eli smiled. He liked that idea. Humans were underestimated, yes, but maybe that was their greatest weapon. No one expected them to survive, to adapt, to succeed. And yet, they always did. One evening, Ellie was checking the navigation system when Shadow spoke urgently. Eli, there is a signal. Eli. Faint, but strong, old, and encrypted. Someone tried to hide it long ago. Eli leaned closer. Encrypted? Can we open it? Shadow paused. I can, but it may take time. The encryption is old human. But if you can help me, perhaps we can. Together they worked for hours. Eli tapped keys, followed Shadow's instructions, rewired circuits, and even rewrote some of the old codes himself. Slowly, patterns emerged, strange star coordinates hidden inside the data. It was a message. Not a warning, not a threat, but a map. A map to something lost long ago. What do you think it is? Eli asked, his voice trembling. Psst. Shadow hummed thoughtfully. Something humans once claimed. Something powerful. Something dangerous. And it has waited for the right mind to find it. Eli's heart raced. Adventure wasn't coming to him anymore. It was waiting, calling him forward. Somewhere in the galaxy, far beyond known space, a secret was hidden, and he, a human boy, had the key. Meanwhile, the aliens who had laughed at him were beginning to notice changes. Rumors spread through the spaceport. Traders whispered, "Did you hear? The human boy, the one who bought that junk? He's made it fly." Nonsense. No human could fix that ship. They say it talks, it has some kind of intelligence. I saw lights moving inside at night. Eli ignored the whispers. He was focused on the ship, on the signals, on learning everything he could. But he didn't realize the eyes watching him were growing more curious and more envious. One morning, as he calibrated the engines, a small drone appeared outside the port. It hovered silently, scanning the Aurora's shadow. Eli froze. Shadow noticed immediately. "Observation drone," Shadow said. "Someone is interested. Likely your old alien friends." Eli's brow furrowed. "They're spying? And they will not stop," Shadow warned. "They underestimated humans once. They will regret it when they realize. Humans can learn quickly." Eli's fingers tightened on the controls. Humans were small, yes, but clever. He had already proven it to himself, and now it was time to prove it to everyone else. Weeks passed, and Eli grew bolder. He activated more of the ship's systems, discovering hidden weapons, advanced shields, and a hyperdrive that could jump farther than any ship he had ever heard of. Each discovery was a thrill. Each success was a lesson. Humans could do what others thought impossible. Shadow guided him, teaching him how to operate the old technology. This ship was designed for humans, the AI explained. It understands human thinking. That is why it responded to you. Aliens never could, and never would. Eli felt a sense of pride unlike anything before. He wasn't just a boy with a ship. He was a human, part of a legacy older than most species remembered. The Aurora's shadow had chosen him, and in return he would unlock its full potential. One night while scanning the stars for the encrypted signal, Eli noticed something strange. A small asteroid field loomed near one of the coordinates from the map. But it wasn't just rocks. Tiny lights moved among the asteroids. Ships, aliens. Shadow identified them immediately. Reconnaissance ships, the AI said. They are observing you, the same traders who laughed at you, and others. They want to claim this ship. They underestimate humans. Always.
Eli's heart pounded.
He could feel their intent. Greed, curiosity, fear. They didn't realize the human in front of them had already mastered what they thought impossible.
"We'll see about that," he whispered.
Over the next days, Eli practiced maneuvers with the ship, testing engines, shields, and weapons in secret. Shadow coached him, giving advice and occasional warnings. The Aurora's shadow responded perfectly to his touch, almost as if it knew exactly what he would do next. Then, one evening, he decided to test a small jump. The hyperdrive hummed, lights flickered, and suddenly the ship leaped forward, disappearing from the port's sensors. When it reappeared, Eli had moved the ship several light minutes away, perfectly hidden among distant asteroids. Shadow's voice hummed with approval. "Well done, Eli. You have the instincts of a pilot and the courage of a human." They will regret laughing.
Eli smiled.
He could almost hear the traders' voices mocking him just a few weeks ago. Now, he was beyond their reach, beyond their understanding, and he was ready for more. But the adventure was only beginning. The encrypted signal pulsed again, stronger this time. It wasn't just a map anymore. It was a call, a warning, a challenge. Somewhere in the uncharted space beyond the rim, something waited. Something old, something dangerous. And it had waited for a human. Eli felt a thrill run through him. He wasn't afraid. Humans often faced impossible odds, survived them, and thrived. That was their way. He looked out at the stars, wide and endless, and whispered, "Let's see what's out there, Shadow. Let's see what humans can do." The ship hummed in agreement, lights pulsing softly, almost like a heartbeat. Together, boy and ship, human and machine would face the unknown. And anyone who had laughed at them would soon understand that underestimating a human was the greatest mistake they could ever make. Eli had never felt so alive. Weeks of preparation had turned the rusty old ship into a hidden marvel. The Aurora's shadow gleamed faintly under the dim light of distant stars, its engines humming softly, shields charged, and hyperdrive ready. Shadow, the AI, guided him with patience and quiet pride. "They're coming," Shadow said one morning. "The alien traders are not content to watch. They have formed a small fleet. Their intent is clear. They will take the ship by force." Eli's heart raced, but he did not panic. Humans had a strange way of surviving. They adapted. They improvised, and they never gave up. "How many ships?" Ellie asked. "5," Shadow replied. "Small attack craft, but one flagship carries an old weapon capable of destroying ships of this class. They believe humans are weak. They are wrong." Eli clenched his fists. Aliens had laughed at him, mocked him, called him a foolish human boy. Now, they would see that humans were unpredictable, clever, and resilient. The first scout appeared at the edge of the asteroid field near Eli's hiding spot. Tiny lights flickered in the distance, alien ships scanning for him. Eli adjusted the ship's controls, carefully aligning shields and checking weapons.
"Ellie," Shadow warned, "they will attempt to surround us. Do not underestimate their tactics."
But remember, humans think differently. Their patterns are predictable. Yours or not. Eli smiled. Then let's show them how humans fight. The scout ship moved closer, sending a beam of scanning light across the ship. Eli stayed calm, adjusting the Aurora Shadow's thrusters. The ship responded perfectly, shifting in ways the aliens could not anticipate. When they fired a warning shot, Eli dodged using the asteroid field as cover, weaving through rocks that the aliens could not see clearly. Shadow chuckled softly. Impressive. Humans would never survive that maneuver. Except you. Soon, the full fleet appeared. 5 small fighters, plus the flagship. They circled cautiously, weapons glowing. Their pilots laughed at the human in the old rusty ship. They had done this countless times with other species. This would be easy. Eli's eyes narrowed.
They think this is a game, he muttered. Let's teach them humans play differently. He activated hidden systems in the ship.
Panels on the hull slid open, revealing energy turrets long dormant. The shields powered up to full strength. The hyperdrive thrusters primed. The aliens didn't know what hit them. The first fighter moved too close, trying to intimidate Eli. He fired a small energy pulse, not enough to destroy, but enough to disable their sensors temporarily. The fighter spun out of control, colliding with an asteroid. Shadow guided Eli, whispering tactics and timing. Use the terrain. Make them think you are weak. Strike when they least expect it. Eli grinned. This was what humans did best, turning disadvantages into advantages. The aliens were predictable. They followed patterns. But humans? Humans improvised. Another fighter approached, expecting the same easy victory. Eli maneuvered the ship sharply, disappearing behind an asteroid. He triggered a trap he had rigged weeks ago, a magnetic pulse that temporarily disabled enemy engines. The fighter floated helplessly, and Eli zoomed past, striking with precision pulses that forced it to retreat.
Humans are dangerous, Shadow said.
I almost forgot. The flagship moved into range. Eli's heart pounded.
He knew that weapon could destroy the Aurora Shadow in seconds. Shadow warned him, the flagship is old, but powerful. You must be careful. But remember, unpredictability is your ally. Eli thought quickly. He activated the ship's holographic projectors, creating multiple images of the Aurora Shadow across the asteroid field. The alien flagship's sensors were confused, firing at false targets. Meanwhile, Eli maneuvered the real ship toward a narrow gap between massive asteroids. Only a human mind could think like this in the heat of battle. The flagship fired its weapon, and the beam struck one of the illusions. The explosion sent asteroids tumbling. Eli pressed forward, weaving through the chaos. He targeted the flagship's engines with energy pulses, carefully calculated, and hit them just enough to slow it down. The alien pilots grew frustrated. How is this human so clever? One muttered. It should be impossible. Eli smiled. Impossible is just a word, he said quietly to Shadow. Humans make it real. He noticed that one of the smaller fighters was attempting a sneak attack from behind. Eli quickly rotated the ship, using a thruster to flip and fire an energy blast at the incoming fighter. The alien pilot spiraled into an asteroid. Shadow's lights flickered in excitement. They underestimate humans. That is their greatest mistake. The flagship, realizing its fighters were being destroyed, tried to retreat. But Eli was ready. He calculated a risky maneuver. A close-range jump using the hyperdrive to appear directly behind the flagship. Shadow guided him, whispering timing and calculations. The jump worked perfectly. Eli appeared behind the flagship, engines blazing, energy turrets locked on. The flagship fired its main weapon, but the timing was slightly off. The hyperdrive jump had thrown off the targeting system.
Eli pressed the trigger. A pulse struck the flagship's engines, crippling it.
It spun out of control, colliding with an asteroid. The remaining fighters, seeing their leader defeated, panicked. They tried to flee, but Eli was already on their trail. Using clever traps he had set weeks before, he disabled each one in turn. Humans were unpredictable, and in battle that unpredictability was deadly. When the last fighter tried to escape, Eli lured it into a narrow canyon of asteroids. The fighter couldn't maneuver fast enough. A small energy pulse clipped its engine, sending it spinning away. Eli floated above, victorious. Shadow hummed softly, almost like a laugh. Eli, you have done what humans always do. You survived against impossible odds. You turned weakness into strength. They laughed at you, and now they will remember. Eli looked at the wreckage of the alien fleet. His chest swelled with pride. The traitors who had mocked him, who had called him a foolish human boy, would never forget this day. Humans were small, yes, but clever, adaptable, and brave. Humans never gave up. But victory did not bring Ellie peace. The encrypted signal from the distant stars pulsed again. Shadow analyzed it further. This signal, it is not just a map. It is a warning. Something waits for humans beyond this system. Something older than the aliens, older than the fleets that once ruled these stars. Eli felt a thrill. Fear mixed with excitement. Humans thrived on challenges, on danger, on the unknown. This was exactly what he had been waiting for. He plotted a course toward the signal source, careful to remain hidden from other alien eyes. Shadow guided him, analyzing hyperspace paths, energy readings, and star maps. The Aurora's shadow responded perfectly, engines purring like a cat.
Are you ready? Shadow asked. Eli clenched the controls. Always. Humans don't back down.
We don't run from challenges. We adapt. Shadow's lights flickered in agreement. Then let us see what humans can do. Before they jumped, Eli glanced back at the asteroid field. The remains of the alien fleet floated silently. He imagined the alien traitors' faces, shocked and terrified. They had laughed at him once. Now, they would never underestimate a human again. He touched the console, whispering, "This one's for all humans who have ever been underestimated." The hyperdrive activated, and the stars blurred into streaks of light. Eli felt the ship hum beneath him, alive and aware. Shadow guided them, calculations precise, engines powerful. They jumped into uncharted space, moving closer to the source of the mysterious signal. Somewhere, waiting in the darkness, a challenge older than humans themselves awaited. But Eli knew one thing. Humans were never truly small. They were never truly weak. They survived, adapted, and thrived against impossible odds. And together, he and the Aurora's shadow would face whatever came next. The stars stretched endlessly before Eli as the Aurora's shadow glided through uncharted space. Every light, every asteroid, every whisper of cosmic wind felt alive. Shadow hummed softly, analyzing the mysterious signal that had called them here. "This is unlike anything I have ever seen," Shadow said. "The energy signatures, they are ancient, perhaps older than human history itself. They are waiting." Eli's fingers tightened on the controls. He loved this feeling. Humans were often small, underestimated, ignored, and yet they had a rare talent. They adapted. They survived. They thrived. And now, a challenge awaited that no alien had faced in centuries. "I'm ready," he said. "Whatever it is, humans don't run." The first sign came as a flicker in space, a shadow moving against the stars. It was massive, bigger than any ship Eli had ever seen. As it drew closer, he realized it wasn't a ship. It was something alive. A drifting ancient vessel, or perhaps a creature, that pulsed with strange alien energy. Shadow's lights flickered nervously.
Eli, this is dangerous. This may destroy anything in its path.
Eli nodded, calm but alert. "Danger is where humans shine. Let's see what we can do." The entity sent a pulse of energy toward the Aurora's shadow, knocking several systems offline. Eli gritted his teeth, rerouting power manually. The lights flickered, the shields strained, but the ship held. Shadow guided him through emergency procedures, while Eli improvised constantly, adapting to the alien energy flows. "You humans, you are unpredictable," Shadow said. "It cannot understand you." Eli smiled. That's how we survive. That's how we win. Hours passed in a tense standoff. The entity pulsed, scanned, and circled. Eli realized it wasn't attacking immediately. It was studying, testing. Humans often faced threats bigger and stronger than themselves, and this was no exception. But humans also had another advantage: creativity. Eli began using the ship's systems in ways they were never intended. He activated the hyperdrive briefly, creating small jumps that confused the entity. He fired energy pulses not to destroy but to mislead, creating illusions of multiple ships. He wove through asteroid belts and gravity wells with precision that no alien could predict. Humans are clever.
Shadow admitted.
And you are remarkable, Eli. The alien entity pulsed angrily, its energy striking asteroids, sending them spinning. But it could not predict Eli's improvisation. Every move he made was unexpected, chaotic in the best way. The entity recoiled each time, unsure what to do. Meanwhile, back at the Outer Rim, the alien traders who had laughed at Eli were still watching through distant observation drones. They gasped as they saw the battle unfolding on their screens. "That boy," one whispered. "He's controlling that ship, and it's moving through the asteroid field like it's alive." They are human," another said, disbelief in their voice. "No alien could survive that." How is he doing this? Their laughter from weeks ago had vanished, replaced by shock and fear. Humans, unpredictable humans, had survived where no alien could. Eli realized the key was not brute force, it was understanding. Shadow had studied the entity's patterns. It was old, but logical in its own strange way. If Eli could predict its pulses, its energy flows, he could turn the battle in his favor. "Shadow," Eli said, "teach me everything. Show me its rhythm." "I think I can outsmart it." The AI guided him through calculations, energy flows, and timing. Every pulse of the entity, every flicker of energy, had a pattern. Humans excelled at spotting patterns and breaking them. Eli moved the ship with precision, striking weak points and dodging powerful beams. The entity, massive and ancient, began to falter. Its strikes grew slower, its pulses weaker. Eli realized he had outsmarted it. Humans were small, yes, but their minds were lightning fast, flexible, and bold. Eli took a risk. He combined the ship's hyperdrive with a new energy pulse he had configured. It was dangerous. He could have destroyed the Aurora's shadow himself, but humans thrived on risk. The pulse fired. Light filled the void. The entity shuddered, pulsed wildly, and then exploded into energy fragments that scattered across space. Eli and Shadow remained unharmed, though the ship shook violently. "Eli, that was remarkable," Shadow said, almost in awe. "No human has ever faced this and survived." Eli exhaled slowly. "We did it, Shadow." Humans never back down. Far away, the alien traders watched the energy blast and the remains of the entity. Their mouths fell open. They had laughed at Eli once, mocked him, called him weak, called humans fragile. Now they stared in horror. He survived," one whispered. How was a human that clever?" "They underestimated humans," another admitted, voice trembling. "They always do. And we were fools to mock him." Laughter turned to regret. The aliens had learned a lesson they would never forget. Humans were not weak. They were resourceful, brave, and impossible to predict. Eli didn't linger. The stars ahead were vast and unknown, full of secrets, dangers, and adventures. He had survived impossible odds, defeated aliens who mocked him, and bested a creature older than most civilizations. But he knew this was only the beginning. He activated the ship's hyperdrive again, Shadow guiding him. The vessel hummed, alive and aware. Eli looked at the stars, imagining all the humans who had once ventured into the unknown, who had survived where others had failed. He felt proud to be part of that legacy. "Where to next?" he asked Shadow. "Wherever humans dare to go," Shadow replied. The galaxy has waited for you, and it will not forget you. Eli smiled, gripping the controls. Humans thrived on challenge. Humans survived against impossible odds. Humans adapted. And he, a human boy with a rusty ship, was ready for the next adventure. He glanced at the destroyed alien drones floating helplessly in the distance. They had laughed at him once. Now, their laughter was gone, replaced by fear and regret. Humans had won, not by brute strength, but by courage, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit. As the Aurora's shadow streaked toward the next unknown sector, Eli realized something else. The galaxy might be filled with dangers far older and stronger than humans. But no matter what came, humans had a way to survive, adapt, and thrive. And sometimes that was enough to make the universe respect them, or fear them. Let's keep going, Shadow, Eli said, determination shining in his eyes. Humans never stop. We never surrender. And anyone who laughed at us will regret it.
The AI hummed, lights flickering like a heartbeat.
Together, human and ship, boy and machine, they soared into the endless stars, ready for the next challenge, ready to prove once again that humans were a force no one could ignore. And far away, in the remnants of the asteroid field, the alien traders finally understood. Humans were small, yes, but they were unstoppable when courage, cleverness, and heart combined. And that was something no one alien, ancient or otherwise, would ever forget.